Hello students, in this video 2 on working with functions I am going to discuss with you the some more concepts of this chapter. I request you to go to the part 1 of this video before seeing this video part 2. Let us now begin the topics of this video. In this video I am going to start with the return statement. Return statements plays a very important role. They not only return the values from the return the control back to the caller function. Depending on the functions whether they are returning value or may not returning value, we have the following two categories of the functions, that is the functions returning some values are known as non-void functions, and the functions those are returning any value are known as void functions. Let us first discuss about the functions returning values, that is non-void functions. For example, non-void functions are returning a literal, variable or expression. A literal means they can return 5, 10 or any other character, string, etc. The variable means they can return the value of a variable. For example, return a will return the value of the a, and an expression means they can return the value of any expression a plus b. So the functions returning value can be understood by the following some examples. Let us first understand this program, which is showing how the fun function is acquiring the value from the x. This is the main section of the program from where we are passing the value of x to the function fun. Now x is given here, then a is equal to 10, b is equal to 5, a is equal to a plus 10. This all calculations are done, and finally we are returning a from here. So the a value of a will be returned from here and it will return back to the k. So if we print the value of k, we will get the as value 20. In this case also a value will be see how this value is 20 is returned. So how can we perform these functions? Let us now, you can return a expression from here also. Let us suppose, you can return a literal value also from the function. For example, if I write return 10, then it will return the value k, 10 value k to the variable 10. It will return the value 10 to the variable k. You can also return the value of an expression from a function. For example, if I want to add a and b to these numbers and then I want to perform their average, so I can do in this way also, and I can get the value here 12.5. So in this way return statements are used. Let us now try to understand some few things about the return statements. For example, see this function program, you can see that in this a fun program is used where the value of the function is returned is stored in a variable k. You can also use the fun directly in the print statement where the value is returned to the print statement directly. There is no variable is used. Sometimes you can also call a function without storing its value to a variable, even though Python will not give any error in this case. Next is in this program you can see that the function is performing some task. As soon as the function returns encounters a return statement, the control will return back. So any statement written after the return statement will not be executed. For example, here as soon as the return a statement is executed, the control is returned back to the function, a caller function, and this print by statement will not going to execute in this program. See, only 20 is printed in this case. So this is how the return statement is going to help us in calculating the values. Let us now move to the second category of the functions, those functions which are returning not returning any values, that is the void functions. In these type of functions there may or may not be return statement written in their body, but they are not returning any values. Let us try to understand these functions with some codings. See, the grade function here, it is not having a return statement, so it does not return neither any value. It will be just called and going to print the hello in our program. One more function can be seen. This same function can be written here. Here return statement is written, but it is not nothing is no expression, no variable or no literal is written here. Even this statement is also, this function is not returning anything. Just see how when we run this program, it is just printing the name given to it along with the hello, and then just close the functions. So in this way we can say that the functions maybe having return statement or not having, but they do not return a value unless it is written at their end. Next, let's see some more examples of the return non-void functions. Void functions. See, these functions basically are nothing returning. It doesn't mean that they are actually do not returning anything. In programming point of view, they return a value called none. Let us see how this is happening here. Here greet function is called and it will be print hello, and after that when the function we will come back to it, this function will going to return none value to the variable a, and if we print the variable value a, we will see that none is going to be printed. Okay, so the one thing should be clear in mind, that functions non-returning functions, void functions not always return nothing, they return the none value. Now let us move to the situation where the programs are returning the more than one value. For example, let us see this program in which we are returning multiple values from a function. See, we are calling this function with the values 2, 3 and 4, and they are passed to the function in the arguments x, y and z. Now we are returning their squares in the variable t. So t will be your tuple, which is storing the squares of all the three returned values. You can also write the same program by writing these in a separate way and making this as a comment. In this, all the three values will be stored in variable v1, v2 and v3, which were we going to print. Okay, so a function may return multiple values also in a Python program. Now we are moving to the next. Finally, we can say that in Python we have the four possible combinations of the functions. First, the functions which are returning some values, that is non-void functions. They have some arguments or they do not have arguments. So they have the non-void functions without any arguments and non-void functions with some arguments. There are void functions also with some arguments and without any arguments. So we have these all the four categories of functions. Now let us move to the next topic, that is the scope of the variables. It is the part of the program in which a variable name is legal and accessible is known as the variable scope. That is the part in which the variable is accessible and legal, and the part in which it is not legal or accessible is defined by is known as the scope of a variable. The scope of a variable can be understood by taking a common normal example. Suppose you are visiting a historical place with many monuments. To visit the monument A, visiting a monument A, suppose you have to buy a ticket, say it is called ticket 1. Now this ticket will be valid as long as you are inside the monument A. Once you come out the monument A, the validity of the ticket will be over. So you cannot use this ticket 1 to visit any other monument. For example, to visit any other monument B, you have to purchase another ticket, say ticket 2, and we can say that the scope of ticket 1 is up to monument A and scope of the ticket 2 is a monument B. Similarly, we can also have a situation where there can be a overall city based ticket called city ticket, which is applicable and which is valid for entire city. A person having a city based ticket can visit all the monuments, so we can say that the scope of the ticket 3 is a whole city and all the monuments within the city, including A and including the monuments A and the monument B. So in this way we can understood the scope of variables, that the variables in a Python also have two kinds of scopes. One is the global scope. When a variable or a name is said to have a global scope when it is defined inside the main program or main section, that is outside all the function definitions if it is existing in a program. Such variables are usable inside the whole program or all the blocks contained within the program. For a global variables, we can see that the lifetime of their is entire program run, that is they live in the program as long as the program is running. The second category of the scope is a local scope, in which what is happening is that a variable is said to have a local scope when it is defined or declared inside the function body. It can be used only within this function and other blocks contain it. For a local variables, the lifetime of a function run for a local variables, the lifetime is their functions run, as long as means the function is running or being executed. Let us try to understand this local and global scopes with the help of some examples. Let me show you the first code. See, in this program I am demonstrating the global scope of the variables. In this, x, y and z variables which are declared outside all the functions in the top level section of your program. This is known as the top level section of your program, and all the variables declared inside this are known as the global variables. But the variables which are declared inside, they are q, m and q. These are not accessibly available to the entire program. They are available within this function itself. They are not cannot be accessed outside the body. So these x, y, z, k will be here called as the global variables. Let us take one more example to understand the global variables. For example, in this, m is equal to 10, which is declared outside all the functions, and it is not even in the top section, but it is declared outside all the function definitions, is also a global variable. Global variables are accessible to the all parts of the program. See, m is print m equal to 10. Here m is also accessible, and in the top level segment also m is accessible, so it will be printing m10 value here also, and it will be printing the m10 value here also in this case. So in both the examples, what I am trying to show you is that the global variables are those variables which are declared outside all the functions, and those variables which are declared inside the function body, they are available within the function body. The lifetime is available within the function body. For example, in this code, a, b are the variables which are declared inside the function x, so I cannot access them outside the function. If I try to write here print a, then it will give me an error. Let us see how this. See, the error a is not defined because a is a local variable defined inside this function. Its scope is available till in this function. As long as we are in this function, our program control is inside the function and we can access it, but outside the function we cannot access it. But we see that the global variable m is the accessible not only in the function x but also in the outside the function body also. Let us take one more example to better understand the local and the global scope of the variables. Here I have used a multifunction program in it, that is we have the more than one functions in a program, and here I have created the local and the global variables. For example, x and y and z, these are the variables which are declared outside all the functions and they are available everywhere in the program, even in the functions inside in the body of the functions. So they are the global variables x, y, z. but some in the sum function m and q are the variables which are available and accessible only inside this function. Their lifetime and their scope is up to this function only. We cannot access the m and n outside this function. Similarly, we cannot access these x and y inside this function and s inside this function. So these are called local variables of your programming. So I hope now it is clear to you what are the local variables and the global variables for us. Moving on to the next topic of our program, we understand what is the meaning of the name resolution. Is a technique which is used by the Python, known as also LEGB rule, LEGB rule also, which helps us to specify the scope of the variables and helps us to resolve the Python rule of scope. Whenever you access a variable from within a program or a function, Python follows this resolution rule. Now first Python will check in the local environment if it is a variable with the same name. If yes, Python uses its value. If not, then it moves to the next enclosing namespace and checks if the name is there, Python uses its value. If the variable is not found in the enclosing variable, then it will move to the global namespace, and even if they are not available in the global namespace, then it will move to the local space, built-in namespace of the Python. Let us try to again understand these LEGB rule of Python through some examples of the code. This is your first case of LEGB where the any variable which is declared outside, for example x is a variable which is declared, but if you try to use the variable x, now the function, when we are inside the function, it will try to use the local namespace, that is it will try to find out the variable x here is not. If the variable x is not here, then the Python will return an error. But in this case, variable x is globally available all the way, so that we are able to get the value of x to be printed inside the function. It is first taking the value of x and then value of y, and you can see this 8 is printed inside. This 8 is variable is printed because we are printing the value of x inside the main. So variable x is printed outside all the definitions. To understand the name resolution, that is the resolving scope of a name rule of the Python. It is also known as LEGB rule, and in which the Python checks the environments in the order of local, enclosing, global and built-in. L for local, E for enclosing, G for global and B for built-in. In this LEGB rule, the significance of these characters. If the variable is first checked in the local namespace, if it is there, okay, and otherwise the Python will check it in enclosing namespace. If it is there, okay, otherwise now it moves to the global namespace, and then it moves to the built-in namespace. If the variable name is not defined in any of these namespaces, then the Python gives an error to the user that variable name not defined. Let us now try to understand this rule with some examples. For example, in this case, we are trying to access a global variable inside a local environment. X is a global variable, but if we try to access the global variable in the local environment, the Python will allows it. See how the LEGB rule will be followed here. First, the program, whenever some function is invoked, and the Python will check the variable x in its local environment of the function sum. If it is not found, then it moves to the next enclosing environment, which is the global environment in this case. So x will be found there and it will be used here, and the value of x will be printed in this case. Variable which is not defined neither in local nor in global, or then Python will give you an error. Here the Python will generate an error. See, name not defined. This error is generated if the variable is not available in any of the cases. Now the third case is that when the same variable name is defined in the local as well as in the global scope. For example, here a is defined in the global variable 15, a equal to 15, it is defined in the global environment, and the a is also defined in a local environment, that is in the as a local variable in the function fun. Now in this case the Python will first, since the variable is created in the local environment, it will give priority to the local environment, and when I start printing here, it will print the value of a equal to 10. But outside the function, when we are there in the global environment, then the global environment variable will be taken priority and we will get the value 15. So here the output will be first 15, then again function is called, here we print the value 10, and again when we come back to after calling the function, here the value of a equal to 15 will be printed. So in this way the let be rule will be followed here. Let us now suppose that we want to make any global variable to be available everywhere. For this, the global declaration statement is used. Let us now try to show you a case where we are doing this. The global statements tell the function that the mentioned variable is to be used in the local environment. For example, I am telling you this case. Now in this case, if I want to access the global variable in this local environment, I have to write the keyword global here. In this case, what will happen that here first a equal to 15 will be printed, then function will be called, and then global a will allow the global version of a will to be accessed here. So the a equal to 10, this local version will be suppressed, and the print a will be printing the global 15 here. Okay, and then again see, I am running this code and you can check this. See, first 15 is printed here, a is equal to 15 is printed. First a is equal to 15 is printed, then again we come there, global a is there, then a is equal to 10, it will be going to print the 10. Now a is equal to 10, then again we come here, it is accessing the 10 value here. The value is changed, that global environment has changed the value of this 10, and it will again print 10, and then it will print 10. Now what happened is that here this a is actually accessing the global a, and so if a equal to 10 is written, it will change the global value of the variable and it will be used. So this is how the variables are used in this case, making it global, we can use them. Let us now move to the next topic of our Python, that is these are the cases which I have already told you. Case 1, this is the case 2, and case 3. These are all the 3 cases which I right now shown you, and this is the 4th case where the global, if you want to use the global variable inside the local scope. Let us now move to the another important topic of this chapter, that is the mutable and immutable properties of the parse data object. In this topic we are going to discuss how the mutability and immutability of an argument affects the change of the value in the caller function, that is whether the function will be able to change the value of a argument or not. That depends on its mutability and immutable property. Let's just try to understand this with some importance. Case 1 is that when we are passing an immutable type such as an integer variable, string or a float, then the changes will not be reflected back to the caller function at all. For example, I am showing you a code where I am passing a integer variable to a function, and where the changes made in the integer variable are not reflected here. For example, in this I am passing the variable num to a function where I am changing the values and doing some changes, and when I come back there is no changes are not reflected back. Let us see this with the output of this program. See, the num is passed, num is equal to 10 before the function passed. Now a is the receiving argument, in which a is initially 12. Now a is changed to 12, but when I come back to the function calling function, the num is still 12. So this is how the things are happening when we pass a immutable type to a object. Now the second case is when we are passing a mutable argument such as list. Then what will happen? There are two cases. One case is either the changes are reflected or the changes are not reflected. This will depend on the two situations how we are dealing with. First case is changes are reflected. This is only the case when the variable such as list is not assigned to a new name or new data type. Any changes which we make in the list then are reflected. For example, I am showing you this case. Here I am passing a list to a function. This is the list initially. Now when I pass to the list, I make a change. I have changed its first element and increase its value by 2. So changes will be there, and now when I come back to the calling function and see the list, it will be showing the change in the list. Let me show you the output of this. See here, the changes which I have done in the function are reflected back in the caller function in the list. So this is the case where things are happening. Another case is there when we are adding and deleting any elements in the list also. These changes are also reflected. For example, when I pass the list again 135 to a function, and there I append the 2, again add the elements 5 and 1 to it, and then remove the element 5 from it, and finally after doing all these changes, when I come back to the caller function, I see that the changes are the reflected back in the function in the list. See here, you can see that this list before the function call was this one. This is the function list in the function which is received. These are the changes done. This is the removing the element 5 from the list, and then this is the list after the function call. So we see that the changes in the list are reflected because list is a mutable type. But when we do some changes, assign the new values. For example, if a mutable type, we are assigning a new parameter to it. In this case, I am assigning the value to a new value to a list. For example, list is initially having 1 and 4 element. When I pass to it, I have created a new list here and assign this new list to this one. Now when I append the list new element and then come back to the function, I tried to saw the changes are reflected back or not. In the output, I saw that there no changes are done. Changes are not reflected. List was earlier also having 1 4 element. After the function call, also list has same elements. So this shows that the changes are not reflected back. So changes is in case of mutable type, changes are reflected back only when it is not assigned to a new name. If it is assigned to a new name or different data type, then the changes will not be shown back. Finally, we can say that the mutable and immutable property of a pass data object is how the behaved. That is, changes in the immutable types are not reflected back at all, and the changes in the immutable type are reflected back only when the name is not assigned to a different variable or data type. Changes are not reflected back in the caller function if it is assigned to a different variable or a data type. So with this we have come to an end of this chapter. I hope all the topics have been clear to you, and I wish that you have understood all